today we are going to work on the front sprocket. We're going to change that, the gaskets, put a new chain on, do a little general run through of this bike, and get ready for racing this weekend. So let's talk about what we need. We'll jump straight into it. All-purpose grease, you're going to need some of that. You're going to 17 millimeter, 8 millimeter, a 10-inch wrench, also a 10-inch socket, a ratchet. You may or may not need that extension. I always find that bigger is better. Wink. Rubber glove. You don't have to have that. Baby wipes, because grease is nasty. We're going to get us a chain guard right there because ours is worn out. We got us a new chain, front sprocket, rings and gaskets. So first thing we want to do, we want to break this back tire loose. So put that 17 millimeter on right there. Crank it down. Once we have this nut off, we're going to push this axle straight through. Come over here, pull it out. If you pull it fast enough, it won't get hung. If you pull it slow, it'll get hung in there. And there it is. It's out. Got it. Cool. Axle's out. Now let's take this chain off. Now that we got the back wheel off and this chain's loose, it's a good idea to check the brake caliper and the brakes just to kind of see what kind of meat we got left on the pads. Those are still good. Again, we're going racing this weekend, so double check on some things like that. Next thing I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to take this front sprocket cover off. 8 mil, 8 mil, 8 mil, 10 mil. So let's get these off. Once you take these out, this can be kind of sticky to get off. You can tap it with a little hammer, or you can use the end of a ratchet and just give a little tap tap here or there. When you take this out, sometimes this bearing will pop out and stay on the sprocket. That's completely fine. It's not the end of the world. These are brand new bearings. If you didn't catch my last video, we did these bearings last week, but that's okay. You know, I use a lot of grease on things. Sometimes they stay in the cover, sometimes they come out. Either way, it's perfectly fine. So once we get that out, then we want to take this plastic piece off right there. It's the 10 mil from there. We pop that off. Once we get that plastic piece off, I'm not sure where this zip tie came from. We acquired that somewhere. Once we get that plastic piece off now, you said back tire's off, chain's loose. You pull the chain forward. Sometimes it'll hang up right there. It's not a big deal. But this whole sprocket will just pop right on out. Yeah, I had to pause camera for a second to get the chain off of that. But that whole sprocket will just pop right out. And you can see there is that rubber O-ring right there is kind of chipped, nasty looking. Sprocket's got some wear on it. It's got kind of, I mean, this is not a totally bad sprocket. If we were in a pinch situation, you know, we're at a race or something, I could throw this baby on. I know we'd make a couple motos on that. But it's just routine maintenance. I'm pretty anal about these kind of bikes. I'm going to be making more videos on this channel trying to show y'all how, there's where that bearing goes, show y'all where and how to do the maintenance on these type of bikes. There's not a lot floating out there, so I'm just trying to do the Lord's work and help y'all out. So next thing we're going to do is take this chain off. All right, guys, for taking this chain off, we want to focus here on this master link. You can see there's this outside clip right there. That outside clip can really be a pain in the butt to get off. The way I like to go about this is shoving a flathead screwdriver right there in the middle and just twisting it. I'll see if I can get that on camera for you. So there's that master link. Add this in here. Once I get it in there, I like to twist it, because guess what? It's okay if we break this clip. It's not a big deal. But when you twist it like that, helps loosen that up. And then you can get in there, pop it out. So off camera, I had to shove my flathead in there and just pop that clip off. Not a big deal, but once you pop that clip off, that master link should come right on out the backside. You can see that clip's missing now. So we should be able to pull this plate off right here. Once we get that off, once we get that outer plate off, we can take our screwdriver, shove it right on in here. Get in there, right there. Yeah, here we go. Should be able to wiggle this loose. Here it is. Master link is out. This chain's old. I bought a lot of chains for this bike. These little bikes, I don't know what the deal is, but these little chains stretch so much. Expensive, OEM, cheap. I've done every chain there is. Yeah, they all stretch. I mean, buy cheap, tighten it every ride. Buy expensive, tighten it every other ride. It just is what it is. All right, we pulled that chain off. Do not throw this away. You're going to use this for your new chain. Also, keep up with this master link. Keep up with that. You're going to use it when you put your new chain back on. So do not throw that away. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to break these lock nuts loose, and we're going to run these all the way inside. Once you break these loose, it's actually a great time to put some lube on that, just because, I mean, it just helps life out. So you break those loose, take you a little bit of all-purpose grease and put it in there. Look, that one's, it ain't even got to be all-purpose grease. That one's pretty loose and good on its own, but it'll make life a little bit easier. So before you run that in there, go ahead and put some lube on the threads, just to keep things moving. Back it all the way out like this, about as far out. You don't want to pull it completely out, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. And throw a little bit of grease on there. I'm going to use some PB Blaster. Just like I said, it ain't going to be anything crazy, just a little squirt. Probably too much. Oh well. This is why 10 mil deep well is important, because you can either use your open end wrench, or you have to have a deep well for this. But we're going to run these all the way in now. Alright guys, next up on the to-do list is this chain guide. You can see this is our brand new one. It's got a bottom in it. This is our old one, and we can see straight through that baby. So we're going to take a 8 mil right there, 8 mil on that. We're going to have a 10 on this nut on the inside. So we're going to break all that loose, and this should pop right off. Before I put this chain guide back on, we got these 2 brackets where they go built into the swing arm. I'm going to put just a little bit of Loctite on these, because that's just something you really don't want coming undone. All right, guys, we snugged that back up. Those are in. Those are Loctited. I don't know if there's any torque specs on that. Again, I'm not a KTM mechanic. I have worked on this e-bike so many times over the last year. This is a 24 model, and this thing has probably had well over 100 races on it. Mutters, motocross, sand, dust, you name it, I've done it. Not me, the little man's done it. So again, I'm no KTM mechanic. There may be torque specs on that, but anyway, they're tight and they're in there and they're Loctited. All right guys, next thing we're going to do is put this front sprocket on. We are just going to put it on. We're not going to tighten it all down and nothing like that, because I can't get the chain length correct until I have the sprocket on. So we're going to take this sprocket. This is our new one. We'll pull it out of the package. You can see when you buy these, they do not come with the gaskets or the washers. It is just a raw sprocket. That's the inside. This is going to be your outside. So let's get this prepped. I'll show y'all how to prep it and get it put on there so we can get our chain just right. So what we're going to do, we've got these 2 O-rings and these 2 washers. We've got to get these O-rings on here. I like to put a little bit of grease on it. This right here is a very important piece, because inside of this bearing right here is the actual inside of the motor, and these are electric bikes. They're not meant to be wet inside there. So these O-rings are like your first line of defense towards keeping water out of there. Yes, you can power wash these. It's no problem if you do power wash them. We have power washed ours quite a bit, but anytime you power wash, you want to hit it directly from the side. You don't want to just blast straight in there. You want to wash it from an angle, like kind of washing it this way, like front towards the back wheel, or back wheel towards the front, or maybe straight down, but you don't ever want to shoot it straight in there. It's okay if you do, but we like to pull this motor out and let it dry. A lot of times we have a mud race, we'll pull it, we'll wash everything really good and then pull the motor out anyway. A lot of times it's still dry if these bearings and these gaskets are good. If they're not good, you'll get water in there. And if you do get water in there, that's completely fine. I wouldn't throw it in the ocean or anything, but pull the motor out, let it drip, let it air dry overnight, and then put it back together. It should be just fine. All right, guys, we got our sprocket put together like so. You can see it's going to be the same way on each side. Put your washers on first, and then put your O-rings on after that. Once they are on there, I want you to take just a finger. I'm talking about a very, very light swab of grease straight out the tub. You can use your glove for this. I'm a real pimp. Man, we ain't gonna do that. But I'm just gonna lightly grease up both O-rings. Like I said, this is your line of defense against water. We're gonna do that on both O-rings and then install the Sprocket. Alright guys, once you have that kind of greased up, like I said, it ain't gotta be super lube, but definitely want to make sure there's some on there. Remember, washers go on first and then your O-rings. And that should just twist it until it lines right up. Be able to, this thing should just slide right on in there. You can spin it until the grooves line up. There we go. And it just pops right on there. So once that's in, we'll go ahead and pull our chain out and get ready to get our chain right. Our chain is going to be probably one of the most pain in the butt parts for this type of project. So bear with me and I will show you all. My least favorite part of this project is the chain. So this is our old chain right there, worn out, cannot tighten it anymore. I run out of adjustments. It just is stretched so much. This is our new chain. It's lubed, and this is you see what we got here. KTM OEM chain. I think I ordered this from Rocky Mountain. We actually run on this bike, we run a 47 tooth rear sprocket, and which is a little bit bigger than stock. I think it's 1 or 2 teeth up from what the stock is. But the problem with this is you can see these chains. The new chain is still longer than the old chain. I haven't had a chain for this bike that I did not have to cut a link out of, so it's kind of a pain in the ass, but we're gonna use a grinder, chop it down to what we need. I like to get them as short as possible without cutting them too short, because if they're short as possible, they got more room to stretch. I'll say this much, this is probably one of the most accurate chains that I've received. I have gone to my dealership, and they've sold me chains that are 6 inches too long. I've ordered them from Rocky off their OEM before, and they've been several links too long. This right here is probably our closest one to fit that I've ever received. So with that being said, I'm probably going to start with this first link right here. I'm going to take this one off and see where we go from there. I would rather cut this thing 10 times and get it perfect than cut it one time, mess up, and then be out of a chain. Alright guys, I don't have a bench vise, and even if I did, my wife would get pissed at me for cutting this in the shop. So I found just an old piece of cardboard that I don't care if we nick up or mark up at all. And the way I'm going to go about this is I'm going to take my grinder, and I'm just going to shave these 2 little nipples off right there. If I shave those off, that outside plate will come off, and that'll separate. Alright guys, I don't know if any of that actually recorded because I just got through my phone over there, but you see I've ground that plate off right there. Still a little bit of that nipple there. I could probably pop that off. I'm going to grab a screwdriver and see if I can separate that. Alright guys, so I took my screwdriver, kind of shoved it in there. You can see it's starting to come out just a little bit, and I'm going to shove my screwdriver. It's kind of hot, so I just want to grab it, but I'm going to shove my screwdriver right in there, press that out, and it should pop right out. Alright guys, remember how I told y'all not to throw your old chain away? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually put my old chain on here. I'm going to put my old chain on here, and then I'm going to put the back wheel on, and then once I put the back wheel on, get everything lined up, then I'll hook the new chain to that, and roll it on through there. Alright guys, I put the old chain back on, and the reason I did that is just because our new chain has some grease and stuff, and I really just don't want that crap all over my hands. But I also just kind of wanted to show y'all with these ran all the way up. Obviously this one had too much play in it anyway to begin with, but I kind of wanted to just show y'all exactly what we were looking at. So this isn't tight, obviously. There's a lot of slack in here, but whenever I do chains, I always try to get them to where this is as tight as it can possibly go, because every time you ride, it's going to stretch, and you're going to adjust it, and you're going to stretch, and you're going to adjust it. Next thing you know, you're always out here. You're all the way back here. And when that happens, it's okay. Not a big deal, but, you find yourself taking another link out of the chain or what have you. So I always just try to start as close, as tight of a chain as I can. Not super tight, but kind of as short as I can safely get away with before before, because it will stretch. The next thing you know, you'll be out of adjustments. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually take that master link and hook this chain up right here. I don't have this back tire tightened on just yet because I still want it to move. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that old master link and I'm going to hook it in right here. And then I'm going to spin the tire and actually thread the new chain on here. And that should take up out of all the slack. And if I took a link out and it's the perfect length, I don't think it will. I think I'm probably going to have to go check and change another one or cut another one out. But if that's the case, then I'll use this old chain, thread it back in here. It just makes it a whole lot easier to put on and take off a chain. All right, guys, so what I did is I took this old chain right here. I put the master link and I hooked the new chain up. So now all I'm going to do is rotate this tire and it will pull the new chain on the bike. Be careful down there because it'll kind of lump up a little bit on you, but pull this out the bottom, you can grab it and pull it. That is the first for me. I ran this new chain on there, and would you look at that? No gaps there, pretty snug, and it lines right up. That's the first time that's ever happened to me on this bike. I mean, I still had to cut a link out to get it here, but yeah, that's never happened to me before. So let's put the new master link in. There's a packet that comes with a chain. It looks just like this. This is going to be your master link, plate, clip, everything you need. So once we get this put in there, we will get it tightened down. All right, guys, I put this master link in, and then I put this plate on. You see it's loose. This is the part where a lot of people have problems, is getting this clip on. And I'm not really an expert in anything. I'm just a regular Alabama guy. But a lot of times you can clip them on like that. Once you get them started like that, you can usually take a set of needle nose pliers, clip it on this end out here, clip them right there, and you should be able to pop it straight on just like that. Booyah. I'm going to put the front sprocket cover back on. Make sure that's in there. So we got new washers, new gaskets. Those gaskets are lubed up. Plastic piece has to go on first. It's going to go in like this. Remember, back tire and everything's still loose back here. We're going to have to adjust that in a minute. But we want to make sure these are lined up. It can be kind of a pain in the butt to handle. There it is, just like that. It's plastic. It will flex just a little bit. And we're going to put our 10 mil in there. And then we're going to come back. I like to do this plastic one first and then put these in. Alright guys, so I've got these semi-snug in there. One thing I always like to do when I do this job is I like to go in a cross pattern, because you still have to seat the outer side of that sprocket into the sprocket cover and bearing right there. And I found that if you tighten this one down, then this one, it can kind of sit in there crooked. So it's kind of like putting a tire on a car. You go from bottom, top, front, top, bottom. You just keep making X's and you'll see it pop on there. On the subject of putting this on, one important thing to know, this happened to me once before. It actually just happened to me again. So before you put that cover on, everything should roll freely, just like this. Okay, nothing's tight on the back wheel, but that should not matter. That axle's greased, it's got bearings in it, in the wheels, so everything should roll freely. If you put this on, if you put this cover back on and things are tight and they don't want to roll freely, pull it off, put it on there. It didn't go in right. Make sure it's on there, but make sure it's on there right. And before you do anything else, just give it a free roll. It should roll just as smooth as this. All right, guys, I got these three tightened. I've got this 10 mil tightened. So we're going to do a roll check. That's what we're looking for. Before you do anything else, once you tighten this down, before you do anything else, grab that back tire and spin it. If you spin it and it rolls freely, you're good to go. If it's binding or hard to roll, pull this cover back off, check it out. These bikes do have a load limit switch in there, so if it is in a bind, you will, basically it'll throw that code and you'll go nowhere. So save yourself a few extra seconds and just give the old roll test. If it doesn't roll, pull this back off, make sure it's on there. You can put it on there, tap it with a screwdriver or something just to get it lined up, and then go in and cross tighten your bolts to get that done. All right, guys, next thing we're going to work on is tightening this chain. That's actually about where I like my chains. Again, this is probably one of the most perfect situations I could have ever asked for as far as getting this chain the correct length. But after we've rolled it a few times, you can see there's still slack here. So see that little tiny gap right there? So we can still move a little bit if we need to, but honestly, I think I'm just going to shove it all the way up there. Yeah, the slack on this chain, I'm going to shove this, I'm going to put my hand on the back wheel, push it up there, and all I'm going to do is tighten this down. I don't want it super tight, but I do want it kind of snug. So it's okay, that little gap right there, it'll disappear in just a moment. So just a little bit, not super tight. The reason I do that is because when I slap this thing into place, I want it to stay where it's at. So too tight. Loosen it up just a little bit. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna snug, not tight, just enough to where it'll hold its own place. So we're tight there, and we're tight there. That's what we're looking for. Now let's check the chain. Let's check this chain tension. There's a lot of people, I see this so much on Facebook. I see this all the time. Oh, how tight should I make my chain? Blah, 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 blah. See how that's got some bounce in it? It's not touching the swing arm. But that right there is about what I look for. I don't have a perfect rhyme or reason on that. I can tell you when I try to pull it back here, there's a little bit of play, but there's not much. I could probably turn this out just a turn or so right there. But I'm not going to. Actually kind of like where this is, because when my little boy rides this, he is about 60 pounds, probably 65 with all his gear on. And as he puts pressure down on this will actually stretch this chain out and tighten it up. So that right there is about what I look for. You know, I've heard people say, oh, I use 3 fingers or 2 fingers, and I've seen people put a wrench in there. But yeah, that's about what I look for. I think I'm going to tighten that up just a hair. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to take this 10 that we had, and I'm just going to back this out just a little bit. Maybe 1, 2. Let's go with 2 and leave it, and then we're going to jump to the other side. 1, 2.5. One thing I look for, you really should use these measuring lines right here. So I find the big fat one right there in the middle, and I line up with the first side of the moon. That's where that one's sitting. That one right there is not sitting the exact same way. So that wheel's on crooked, which is correctable. So we're going to fill it. That's about what I'm looking for. I'm going to give this one an extra little bit just to snug it up. Not snug it up, but line it up, make sure that back wheel's on right. This right here is how you make sure your back wheel is on correctly. So now it's way too tight. So what I'm going to do, you can see on this side, fat one at the very front of the moon. Fat one's at the very front of the moon. I'm going to give this one a half a turn in and give this one a half a turn in. And I'm going to slap that wheel on the butt. Let's see, all right. Fat one is right in front of the half moon notch. The fat one over here is right in front of the half moon notch. So we can live with that all day. We'll live with that all day. It's a little tighter than I'd prefer, but on that first ride it's going to stretch. So we should be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and lock these down. Once you get those locked down, jump over here, tighten this axle back up, and we're good to go. Alright guys, that's how we do a front sprocket chain guide chain on the 2024 SX-E5. Should be the same as the SX-E3. I've done a lot of work on these bikes, so if there's something y'all are curious about or would just like to see, let me know. I'm going to be doing a few more videos on these bikes just because there's not a lot out there. So anyway guys, hope that helps y'all. Hopes that helps y'all. Yeah, whatever. If that helps you out, leave me a like or something. Help support the channel, or don't. I don't really care. This channel actually helps my little boy out. He's 7. He races. So yeah, guys, if y'all like that, help me out.